Hi folks, and welcome along to this Monefly webinar. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for getting here a few minutes early. We'll get underway in 3 or 4 minutes or so once the rest of the group join us. But thanks for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. This is the first time we've done a webinar, which is a bit of a combination of some training stuff, a bit of an update on some technical challenges we've been having as part of our rapid sort of growth in the past few weeks. I guess a bit of a story on who we are and where we're going and why. We really want to sort of share that with you as well, and then some insights into our product roadmap, some of the cool stuff we've got coming up that we wanted to talk to you about and get your feedback on as well. So welcome along. My name's David Housen. Thanks for joining me for this Monefly webinar. And to be honest, I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I will aim to stay on time and move through the content at a reasonable pace. I'm recording it as well, so I'll make the recording available to you at the end, but we'll also have a Q&A session. So fire in the questions that you have along the way, type them into the Q&A toolbar there, send those through, and I'll make sure I either get to them along the way or at the end of the webinar, where we can have an open Q&A session on anything and everything about Monefly and what we're doing and where we're headed. So take advantage of that, because that's part of the purpose tonight, is to hear directly from a handful of our members and to find out more around the experience they've had to date, and obviously share some insights, share some of the things we've been receiving some feedback on, share some of the technical challenges that our team are working away flat out on, and have been for the last 3 weeks in particular, and hopefully give you some insights into where we're heading and I guess why we're excited about the Monefly project. And it's interesting because when we started the Monefly project, it was about 2 years and 2 months ago now. So although some of you probably wonder if we've been doing this for just a few weeks or a few months, it's actually been a 2-year process to get to where we are. And we've got some exciting stuff ahead, but there's some complexity to it as well that's causing us to relook at a couple of things we're doing that certainly are under demand and have some challenges. So my goal is to start on time in a minute or so. We've got a bunch of people sort of logging in right now, as you always do for the first few minutes of a webinar. And as I said, my name's David Housen. Welcome along to this Monefly webinar, and make sure as we go along now, if you've got a list of burning questions, feel free to type those in, send those through in the Q&A toolbox, and I'll answer those as we go along. Some of the end, depending on how many we get. But essentially, tonight's making sure that we get to give you a big update, but also getting your thoughts and feedback as well. So we'll get started right on time. So welcome to this Monefly webinar. Probably first in a series of webinars that we'll do, but essentially this is a big update on Monefly, on some bugs and challenges we're having, what's in the product roadmap, the business itself, who's behind it, and where we're headed, and I guess we want to really just sort of share that with you and get some feedback from you. So as I said, we started on the Monefly project a couple of years ago now, and it's been a bit of a journey to get to where we are today. Tonight's agenda is ready to jump straight into a bunch of tips and tricks on how to use Monefly better, what we're trying to achieve, who's behind Monefly, and what's the big picture. And I think we're actually going to do now number 2 before number 1. Actually, we're going to jump into some of the technical challenges, be open with you about those, some of the work that's in progress, and talk about some of the stuff that might be driving you nuts or may have given you some frustration or a bad first impression. The product roadmap will touch on what's in the pipeline, what are some of the features we've got coming up, a sneak preview of Monefly Global and why that's important and what that means to you. Hopefully we'll jump in there and give you a bit of a live overview, and then our support, our team, our service and values, what you can expect from us. We want to really make sure that you're clear on what you can do to get hold of us get the support you need, give us feedback, etc., etc. So we're going to start off with, I guess, by way of introduction, really, who's behind Monefly, and what's the big picture? Why are we going down this path? What's our intention? Often you create these platforms, they're free for people to use, and there's the assumption that because it's free today, that there's a catch, and maybe it's going to cost you money in a month or 6 months or however long. And so we want to be, I guess, transparent about our intentions, and also put some of those concerns or myths right. So a little bit of background. So yeah, Anthony says they're likely to remain free. Yeah, absolutely, and I'm going to elaborate on it, but absolutely, our commitment indefinitely is to provide Monefly free to our personal members, our consumer users. And I'm going to talk to you about why that is shortly. I'm going to be quite open about it. And then I'm going to talk to you about, okay, if that's the case, then what are we doing to fund the business? How are we going to make money? How are we going to be able to continue to invest in the business? How does that all make sense so that you've got your head around that? So in terms of our leadership team, so I spent about 11 years after founding a business known as Real Estate Investor back in 2006, building that business. It's a technology business, or it was a technology business, with a focus on providing tools and information to property investors. Today, that business, after listing on the ASX 2 years ago, is going down the path, as you may know if you subscribe to that business or receive their information, going down the path of selling real estate as well, which it wasn't doing originally in the first 10 years or so. So I left that business 2 years ago now. I'm still one of the 5 largest shareholders in the business, but I left the Real Estate Investor to pursue new projects. And at that time, so that's December 2015, myself, Justin Davey, who had worked with me at Real Estate Investor for a couple of years, working in product and partnerships, he also left the business at that time to start going to a technology startup that he designed and developed, and we decided to do some consulting work together and work on some new projects together. During my time at Real Estate Investor, we established a long and really rewarding project with a company called Connective. Connective are the largest mortgage aggregator in Australia. They have about 3,000 mortgage brokers in their network. In that time, I got to know Murray Lees, the founder of Connective, quite well, and watched his journey as he built that business over the space of 10 or 12 years. And then eventually Macquarie bought a quarter of the business. Murray stepped out of it operationally and was looking for some new projects. So Murray and I got together, and to be quite frank, we sat down the day after Real Estate Investor listed on the ASX. Murray had stepped out of Connective about a year before, and we said, we had breakfast, and we said, what would we do differently if we did it all over again? And to be frank, the Real Estate Investor business, the product suite, the platform is fantastic, but it's expensive, and it's a business built around expensive data licensing costs that run into in excess of $1 million a year, and it means that everyday property investors who want to have access to that type of technology, that information, has to spend $1,000 plus a year to use the platform. And the trouble you've got is, when you're buying and investing, whether you're investing in shares or in real estate, it's generally not something you're doing every day, every month. And while you want to know how you stand and where you're tracking, you don't necessarily want to pay for tools that you're not using on a daily and weekly basis. That costs you to subscribe. And I guess if you look at how the world's changed in the last 2 years, Netflix, if you had a couple of boxes in your house, Foxtel, I should say, if you had a couple of decoder boxes in your house a couple of years ago, you're spending $150 a month. Now with Netflix, you can license a bunch of stuff for $10 a month, and now Foxtel's had to come out with a different subscription model. So we said, okay, well, what if we could create the ultimate financial platform for consumers, so they knew in real time where they stood financially from an asset and liability, income and expense point of view. And what if that was free to use? What if there was no data licensing cost? There was no subscription cost for the consumer. It was just a great product and free to use. And then when Murray got talking, he said, well, part of the challenge as a mortgage broker is you'd love to work more closely with your clients, but you just don't have access to the information. The only time you find out when there's something's happening in their life is when they apply for a new mortgage, or they sell a property, or they churn or terminate the old mortgage. And we say, well, imagine a business where consumers didn't have to do paperwork anymore. Imagine if they didn't have to fill in 8-page mortgage applications anymore. Imagine if they could live in real time and it was digital and was free. And so the three of us got together, and out of that came a business called Digital Finance, which was its working name, and that morphed into Monefly and became something quite different over the past 2 years. So I guess that's how we got started, and really our vision was to create a fantastic platform that really helps consumers to be financially more intelligent and create much better financial outcomes. And that's what we set out to do 2 years ago. So if you've just logged in the last couple of minutes, that's okay. My name's David Howes, and I'm hosting the webinar tonight. I was just really getting started on the path we've taken to get to where we are today. And really our vision for Monefly, if you think about what we're trying to do, you think about what Facebook does around connection and community, what we're trying to do is make it much easier to connect with whoever you call your financial advisor, be that a mortgage broker, a banker, an accountant, a solicitor, a property manager, a coach or advisor, but to be able to do it in real time and to be able to have access to much richer and more intelligent data. When you think about what Fitbit does with sports technology and sports data, that's what we're trying to do with personal financial information. And when you think about what Xero does for businesses, what we're trying to achieve for consumers is to create that kind of real-time information, but not to require maintenance, reconciliation, updating, or any of the work required on a weekly basis. Because what I've found in my experience of working with consumers is they want the outcome, but they don't want the process. They don't want new jobs, new responsibilities, new things they've got to do each week. So a big part of our goal is to make Monefly simple, automated, intelligent, and make it really, really easy for you to achieve some pretty cool things. So I guess the problems we're trying to tackle, if you think about the consumer side, a reasonable chunk of Australians have no savings. We have household debt levels as a percentage of our income at more than double the USA because of one common denominator, and that's the price of property is more than double the USA on average. Half of us expect to run out of money in retirement, and a reasonable chunk of us in the middle class, about 65% in all, describe ourselves as financially dissatisfied. And we do live in this world where, despite the GFC, there's still massive debt levels around consumer credit cards. So in Australia alone, I guess if you want to sound dramatic, you'd say there's a fifth of $1 trillion of credit card debt, or a credit card for 3 out of every 4 people. So on the advisor side, the people you work with in the professional space, they have different challenges, but similar in some ways. Their businesses are aging. It's expensive for them to acquire new customers. Their relationships with consumers are in decline because, as consumers, we become quite impatient now. We expect that every business is digital. We expect them to be efficient. We expect them to be able to work in real time. We hate going to our offices. We dislike meetings unnecessarily, and we hate having to fill in web forms and that kind of stuff. For professionals, marketing gets harder and harder, and they waste a lot of money on what they call lead generation. And whether you're a consumer or advisor, there's so much data out there. There's so much information, but most of us don't have access to great data, and we definitely don't draw intelligence from it. And I guess one of the maybe almost 20 years ago, 18 years ago now, when I started investing in real estate, one of the great books I read was the cash flow quadrant, and the principles are the same in Rich Dad Poor Dad around balance sheet accounting for consumers. And I guess with one of the things we're trying to achieve with Monefly is to make financial information easier to understand, but again, in a semi-automated way. So when you think about people that are on low incomes, generally they spend what they earn, and often they don't build assets because they don't have surpluses to be able to buy or invest in assets. Often they don't have liabilities because they just don't have good enough credit. For a chunk of the population in the middle class, higher incomes, higher expenses, they start to have nicer cars, private school expenses, things like that. and over time accumulate a number of liabilities, and eventually may invest in a house, an investment property, etc., etc. I guess what we're trying to achieve as consumers is to get to the point where we don't have to trade time for money. We don't have to work for an income for a salary or an hourly rate to pay our living expenses. And ultimately, the goal is to build a strong balance sheet where it's common sense, right? Assets outweigh liabilities. Not just that, but they're income-producing assets, whether it's rent, dividends, interest, licensing, or what have you. We want to get to the point where we generate far more income from our income-producing assets than we do from our day job. You get to that point, what's called financially free. And it's good in theory, and the majority of us understand the logic. The challenge you've got is when you've got stuff everywhere, you just don't know where you're at in real time. And so what we've set out to create or to achieve with Monefly, in as automated a way as possible, is to enable you to plug in and access that information in real time. And whether that's through connecting to share markets, whether that's connecting to bank, credit card, or mortgage accounts, whether that's connecting to property data, or some of the other stuff we've got coming down the pipe, like vehicle valuations, super funds, SMSF funds, etc., etc. The goal is to make it easy for you as our members to have all of the stuff updated in real time as much as we possibly can, so that at a glance you always have a single consolidated view of your cash and your debt across all of your accounts, as well as your investments, assets and liabilities. And that's really what we've set out to create with Monefly. And if you've been using Monefly, you would have seen that we've got a reasonable way through that, but we've got some ways to go as well. So I'm just going to take a 60-second pit stop at this point. I'm going to answer some of the questions that have come through already, because if it's great for me to break it up with questions while they're relevant, and that'll get you thinking about other questions as well. So Bryce has asked, does Monefly value properties in New Zealand, as I'm not getting value for my New Zealand property I've entered? So Bryce, and partly tonight we're going to talk to you about that and show you that. Monefly currently, from a property point of view, is Australia only. Monefly Global is in development. It started in October last year. It's just been released to our team for testing now. And when we roll that out to replace the Monefly Australia platform, probably late March or early April to be realistic, at that point you'll be able to value any property across New Zealand and across Australia. Not just Australia, but you'll also be able to plug in any shares you hold from any of the global share markets globally across the world. Right now, through our partnership with Yodlee, you can already connect global bank accounts from 15,500 institutions globally, and Yodlee's platform is used by businesses like ours and companies like Xero and various other institutions to give 70+ million consumers access to their financial data globally through various platforms. Anthony said, is it likely to remain a free service? And if so, how do you make your money? So good question, Anthony. Yes, it is going to remain a free service. That is a short, medium, long, and indefinite business strategy that is the case. And there's some reasons why we can do that. I'm going to cover those in detail when I come to that section. I'm going to show you in detail how do we make money, where does it come from, and why is Monefly sustainable, and I'm going to explain that as well. Anthony's also asked, with the reported leaks of personal info for the likes of Uber, amongst others, how safe is my info and who can see it? So I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to come back to security as well and the product roadmap update. But in terms of your data, we use the highest level of security that is available to us. As part of our integration with Yodlee, we are required to have bank level security. Because obviously you're entering your bank credentials through access to Monefly site into Yodlee directly, and all we're holding in our platform is that income and expense financial data. We don't hold any credentials. Yodlee hold those. And when your accounts have been updated nightly or throughout the day, if you refresh the data, that's coming via Yodlee and the detail they have. So companies like Xero have used Yodlee for a long time now to enable their business customers to pull data from bank accounts across Australia, New Zealand, and globally as well. But security is really, really high on our radar, and we're introducing two-factor authentication in the next month as well. And I'll come back to that at the right section and explain what that is and why. So Anthony said also there is no tab for super and also pensions that are maybe in overseas pots. Are we just to add some as assets? Will be good to link this info to Monefly. So good question. So two parts for two answers to that. So we have access now to Australian industry and retail super fund data. We just need to build how that integrates into the Monefly platform. So that's for Australia. I know that doesn't answer your question right now. We're working on sourcing SMSF data next, and then globally through Yodlee, we already have access to a number of pension funds, college funds, superannuation funds, retirement funds through Yodlee globally. And again, then that's how once we roll out a global platform, how we take that data and how we sort and arrange and present that in Monefly so that it all makes sense. And I'll give you a bit of a sneak preview today, but part of us doing that, Anthony, has been to make sure we can handle being able to see your information in a single currency. Otherwise, of course, if you've got stuff in US dollars and New Zealand dollars and Great British pounds and Australian dollars, then it would be kind of a nonsensical picture. So I'll come back to that as well. Anthony said property in UK. Let me come back to that as well. Okay, cool. Okay, so I just wanted to answer the questions that are coming just while they're fresh on the top of your mind, just so I can get through those. So those are the questions so far, and feel free to fire them through. This is really about having an open session. I'm not here to present and sell anything to you. You're already using Monefly, which is why you're here. Hopefully tonight we can inspire you with what we have planned and tell you a little bit more about our story and gather your feedback as well. So happy to just take my time, answer your questions along the way, and make sure if there's anything I can't answer to take that away and come back to you. So, with Monefly, when you think about it, we've got a couple of buckets, right? We've got stuff on the positive side of the ledger being income and assets, stuff on the negative side of the ledger being expenses and liabilities. And the goal is to help you sort and arrange that quickly and easily, and then enable you to be able to connect whoever you call your trusted advisors, and then have control over what you share with who. So when it comes to your financial data, we will never ever disclose, nor are we permitted to by law, your financial data to anybody else that you haven't agreed and opted in to share that with. So unless you specifically say, I want to share this information with this person, we can't share your data, and we won't share your data as part of answering that that privacy question. In terms of what we've been doing in the background, and this is semi-confidential, but we've been working with a number of partners in Australia and New Zealand as part of our rollout. Companies that are in a number of areas that see value for their clients with Monefly, and our challenge has been focusing on getting our product refined, growing our team, building out our team, and then starting to release Monefly out through our partners to various audiences that are in the media, property, finance, advisory, accounting, retail, or portal space. And we've started to do some activity with some of those partners, and some of them are in the pipeline and on the way. The interesting thing with Monefly is it doesn't matter who we talk to. There's universal agreement that if consumers had information in real time, they're about to use information better. If advisors had the information in real time with their clients' permission, and they could connect with their clients in real time, they'd better help their clients more often as well. And a really simple example is that resonates with me. I'm a mortgage broker. I lent you, I'm not really, but pretend I am, right? I lent you $500,000 10 years ago. You bought a property in Sydney or Melbourne, and today that property is worth $1 million or $1.5 million. Now, as basic as it sounds, as a mortgage broker, all I know is I've still got a mortgage with you, and unless I go looking up the property manually, I don't know how much it's worth. I don't know what your income position is right now. I don't know what your debt position is right now. I have no idea whether you've bought other properties since then, what your equity now is. If I was a proactive broker, and at the time you took that mortgage out, you said, "Hey, David, as soon as my equity gets to $750,000, as soon as my LVR gets down below 60%, I'm really keen to buy another investment property. That's my plan." And the trouble is, when you don't have the data and the broker doesn't have the data, the years go by, the market cycles on, and often the opportunity cost is what you could have done 5 years ago if you knew the information with investing in your next property or upgrading or renovating or what have you, if you had that data. Without that data, time marches on. And for most of us, getting valuation data is expensive. Brokers are too busy to do it manually, and life goes on by. So that's really part of what we're trying to achieve with putting this information in one place. And again, business traction wise, I just want to share the picture we're starting to see as a business, because again, as part of our understanding where we've come from and where we're going, then we want to be transparent as a company in terms of our direction and our trajectory as well. So if you go to the bottom line here, platform, Australia and global. Platform means website, right? So 2 years ago, January 16, we started designing Monefly. July 16, about 18 months ago, we started developing it. About 6 months later, we released it. It was full of bugs and all sorts of issues and challenges. We then spent 6 months working our way through those, and then released it publicly in July last year. And then did a little bit of refinement, and we started doing some initial marketing. Key media told their customers about it. We did some initial Facebook marketing. We did some initial partner marketing November, December, January. And we've kind of gone from about 200 members around September, October to about 2,100 today. So from the end of January, we're at 1860. And then another couple of weeks into February, I think we're at about 2,160 or something, and about 100 advisors. So just so you can see as well what that's meant for us as a business, we started adding people 2 years ago. They're all development and content people. Then about mid last year, sales and marketing. More recently, partnerships and product. Membership's growing. We spent the first year with no sales, of course. In the last 6 months, we've turned over the grand total of $135,000 for 6 months, which, as you can imagine, doesn't pay a lot of salaries when you've got a bunch of people. And by January, we're turning over about $24,000 a month from advisor-related income from subscriptions and the like. The other thing that's really interesting for us is the amount of information stored in Monefly, which is ultimately our measure of the relevance of what we do. Because if you don't use Monefly, if you don't start connecting property and shares and cash and debts and other assets, it kind of means that what we're doing is a waste of time and not relevant. Interestingly, by the end of January, it had jumped to $1.35 billion worth of information stored in the platform. And today it sits at over $2 billion about two weeks later. You can always see how much that is. If you go to our homepage, scroll to the bottom, the data is updated on a daily basis there. And for us, it's important to measure engagement. So in terms of where to next, well, we think we can get from about 2,000 odd members today to about 10,000 by the middle of the year. We think as advisors start to use Monefly now, our income is going to increase. Where we turn over about $373,000 for the financial year, or about $40,000 a month on average. Oh, actually, that's probably more like 35 actually if you divide it by 12 for the first financial year. And we're adding more people, and we've got we're doing the global release in a couple of months, and then we've got an update to apps, ongoing updates to apps being released as well. So that's kind of our 2-year story in terms of where we started. We didn't just start 5 minutes or 5 months ago, and we've got a long way to go, but some interesting things starting to happen from a trend point of view. Our income comes from subscriptions, from advisors. It comes from sponsorship and some other tools here we'll introduce down the track. And our big costs are in data licensing, not at the same level as companies like Real Estate Investor, but in marketing and people as well. But essentially, our goal is to grow to about 200,000 users in Australia in 5 years, and we think that's quite possible, and about 5,000 advisors. So you can make a lot of money in a spreadsheet. Turning it into reality is the challenge. So Anthony mentioned the UK before. One thing that we have done in the last 12 months has been on research trips to Hong Kong and to New York. We've extensively researched the Singaporean market, the Canadian, the UK market, and the New Zealand market we know quite well. And we know that within the consumers that we target, it's about 157 million people in that handful of countries, and it's about 7.3 million advisors. And so, absolutely, we've got aspirations to grow. But right now, we've got our work cut out in Australia. It's early days for us, and we're rapidly scaling our platform and features and product updates. And of course, we're rolling out New Zealand shortly as well. And we're starting to get some good feedback coming in from an ongoing point of view. So, again, we've been open with you. This is our focus for the next 12 months. We've got the global platform to launch. We've got app updates to launch in June. We've got ongoing partner development and advisor development. Because here's the thing, right? In a business like ours, you can do marketing and you can pay for customers to join your platform by advertising on Facebook or Google, or you can work with partners and advisors who really like your product, really like what it can do for their business, and they start inviting their clients, and then your business starts growing without paying for lots of customers. So we want to invest our money in product development. We want to invest our money in supporting our clients and helping them enjoy membership. We don't want to invest it in paying for ads and buying customers. So that's our primary focus, although we do some marketing from time to time as well. So we've got to increase our revenue so we get to the point by early next year that we're actually profitable, because that's how you become sustainable as a business. And then we're going to steadily work on increasing our membership base. So how do you fund this? Well, to date, our 5 cornerstone investors have put in about $1.1 million so far to fund us to where we are. We're currently raising $300,000 in new capital at the moment, and $300,000 to $500,000 later this year to fund platform development, customer support people, marketing people to work with our partners, and so on and so forth. So, bit of an update on our business, but I thought it's important to understand that, because otherwise you look at our platform and say, how do you make money? And the answer is everything we're doing with advisors to help them have a great experience and to help connect them to the customers they already have is our focus. And so we have to make sure we serve our advisors well. But arguably, at the end of the day, if consumers don't love our product, they won't use it, so it's kind of irrelevant. So Sheehan says, so if I'm understanding this correctly, you're bridging the gap between investors and advisors with real-time info, plus helping us set and track towards goals. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. That's it. That's exactly what we're trying to achieve. Yep, that's the one. Lisa says, David, how accurate is the market value estimate of property, and where's the data derived from? That's a really good question, Lisa. I'm just going to take a mouthful of water before I answer that question. So the challenge we have with real estate valuation data, and I've worked with this data for more than a decade now in my experience with Real Estate Investor, is historically in Australia and in New Zealand, CoreLogic essentially are the major player in the market. And then you've got APM, who now owns Pricefinder, which is owned by Fairfax, owned by Domain, who's owned by Fairfax. And then you've got smaller players like Residex, and they all do valuation estimates, and they all sell those estimates to mortgage brokers and banks and other companies for $2 or $3 or $5 or $10 per time, literally as much as that. So you go value a property, you pay whoever provides that data pays that kind of cost. Then you've had this kind of evolution. Estate.com said, wow, it'd be great to give away valuation estimates because that would drive more traffic. And so they've used their data to start doing that. And then Domains followed suit. So on the Domain website, if you go into the home price guide option, you can do a valuation estimate there. And those of us that have been around data for a while know that these things can be great. They can be miles out. When I say miles out, 20 to 50%, or sometimes we just get no result. What we've had to do at Monefly, and part of this is why this has taken 2 years, and part of this is why we've had a few technical challenges recently, is we've had to build not only our own evaluation methodology for Australia and then for New Zealand, but we've had to build it in a way that will enable us to produce what we believe are better results because of how we go about calculating a valuation estimate. Now, that's never going to be bang on, spot on, perfect every time. If you've bought a property in the last 6 months and you've renovated it and it's gone from a 1950s interior to brand new and smick inside and out, and you've landscaped it, we're just not going to know that. So we can do as much as we can to give you an idea or a valuation estimate on a like-for-like basis. And we look at that a number of ways, right? What was the property last sold for? What's sold recently that's comparable? We do work around land size, bedrooms, bathrooms, that kind of stuff. We also do some indexing as well and say, okay, if we look at how that suburb's grown over the last 10 years and we look at the valuation estimate we've calculated, does the growth in the suburb match the growth or the difference between what you pay for the property and what it's worth today? And so we do some extra things as a sensibility check as well. If it's sold recently in the last 6 to 12 months, then that obviously pays a big part as well. We had to build this stuff ourselves because we simply could not afford to buy or license valuation data on a cost per person basis and give it away. We also couldn't afford to license it on the same model as Real Estate Investor, which costs more than $1 million a year, and give it away. So we've taken a longer path, a path that we believe will deliver a superior outcome when we finish all the fine tuning we're doing, and definitely the 1,500 plus properties that have been added to Monefly in the last 2 weeks have really load and stress tested our valuation algorithm and given us some great data to work with now in terms of checks and balances with real people and real properties. So that's kind of the long answer, and that's where the hard work is, Lisa, because when you've got a small number of players providing this data and licensing it, it's hard to get quality and free, and we're trying to crack that nut, and we think we have. We're well on our way with what we're doing, what we've learned so far. And just so you know, our team tests hundreds and hundreds of properties on an ongoing basis and tweak and adjust our algorithms. But our mission is to provide that free along with share market data, superannuation data, banking data as well. We do have data licensing costs for bank data and credit score data and some of the real estate stuff that we have to license at a big level before we do our own slicing and dicing, but nowhere near the restrictions we would have if we just did what everybody else does. Okay, so I want to jump into the technical challenges and other stuff that might be driving you nuts. And there's kind of 4 key areas based on the feedback we've seen in the last 2 to 3 weeks. And so if you've been a member for some months now, that's great, welcome along. If you've just joined the last 2 or 3 weeks, this is targeted at you where we have seen some issues. So we had a major malfunction about 2 weeks ago with the Google address lookup that we use for matching street addresses and then overlaying unit and house data. That caused our members to add properties to the platform where the address wasn't matching properly, and so it didn't pull any valuation data information either. I'll show you an example of what a bad address looks like shortly, so that you know if that's you, that if you delete and re-add those properties, you should find that issue comes right. We have had some issues with some members not having monthly updates done. So how Monefly works is you add a new property to Monefly. If it's set to auto value, it'll give you a valuation today and then automatically update monthly from then on for you without you having to do anything. I've had some members getting the $0 valuation results where they should be drawing a valuation, and I'll talk to you about a couple of things you can do in the short term to work around that. On the adding bank accounts front, we have had some speed issues with the way Monefly's integration with Yodlee set up. We've checked a number of other platforms that use Yodlee, and what appears to be the norm is rather than you sitting there waiting for your accounts to load, those platforms say this could take anywhere from a few minutes to a few hours. Please check back today or tomorrow and when all the historical transaction data has been updated for you. What most of you don't know right now is if you're sitting there waiting, you think, when's this data going to load? If you exit it out of that, it'll carry on loading for you in the background. Unfortunately, what you would have found right now is if you click the finish button while it's still loading, it'll give you an error message. What our team's doing right now is they're completely changing the workflow with how that data pulls. When you sync your accounts for the first time, that's the only issue. We're limited by Yodlee's speed on a bank-by-bank basis, and some of you have maybe 10 or 15 bank accounts across, business and personal and family trust or whatever, and pulling those accounts times the historical data, I won't bore you with the details, it takes some time, and unfortunately that's causing some speed issues. That is one of the one of the 3 key priorities right now. These are ordered in order of priority that our team are working on. They have made big advances, but I expect that to come right shortly, and we'll definitely tell you on any of these things when updates are released and some of these issues have been fixed. Okay. If you're an Android user, you'll be laughing quite happily right now. If you're an Apple user like me, if you're on iOS 10 or 11, some of those versions of that operating system, some of those apps are crashing randomly for just some people, not all people. Our team have put in place bug tracking software so that when those crashes occurred, they're now being informed, and as to the cause, and our mobile team are working on those issues and have been for about 10 days now. I expect there to be new releases in the coming days, along with some fixes to some things that have been bugging you. For example, you could add shares to the Monefly through the mobile app, but you couldn't add cents, only dollars. You couldn't add a manual valuation for property, only an auto valuation. Those things are in flight at the moment, so expect some releases through the app stores for those. Okay, financial goals. The purpose of financial goals is to not only enable you to set goals, but link them to increasing asset values, increasing bank account values, reducing debt or expenses in real time. So unlike most goals, you know how you're tracking automatically without having to think about it. That whole module's under redesign right now and development, and some of the graphs aren't displaying as they should, particularly when you say, I want to pay this mortgage from $500,000 down to zero. It's not displaying as it should. So bear with us. Our team are working on that. That's more about cosmetic issues than functional issues, but it's an important area. I wanted to just share this with you because sometimes you think, I sent this bug into this company, and they told me they're working on it, but are they really? And for me as a consumer and as a user of software, it annoys the heck out of me when I have a bad experience and the company says, yeah, we'll look at it, and I don't know whether that means next week, next month, or whenever. So we run all of our development on a platform called Podio. Podio is a project management system. You can see there by the number on the left that we're up to bug number 1,230. That could be a bug, that could be a change request, that could be a new enhancement. That's across all the projects that we do. And right now, from a Monefly point of view, if you see there that number 31 out of 1,153, that means right now for Monefly, there's 31 outstanding bugs that we then prioritize and our development team then update on a daily basis. In terms of Monefly bugs in total, there's been, of the 1,153 bugs, half of those are other projects that aren't Monefly. 535 of those bugs are Monefly, and they've now been completed to date. And we're now talking about over the past 18 months. So I just want you to understand that we capture everything we send in. We capture, whether we capture by email, by screenshot, by video, by URL link. The more that you send us, the better. It's all captured. It's all prioritized. Our team do this on a daily basis and have a daily update with our development team. Our development team has 15 people working in it at any point in time, some on mobile and some on web, but we manage this stuff responsibly. We track it, and we see it through to the end. So again, it is important, and anything you see, we want to know about, and right down to spelling errors. We want this to be as perfect as possible. When we're pushing the platform ahead like we are, there will be some challenges sometimes. Simon has asked, can Monefly value commercial property? I can't right now, Simon, but what we will do is build in the smarts that allow you to drop some data into that to estimate it. It's a couple of things, right? Unless we know the quality and tenure of the leases, the lease amounts, the age and quality of the building, the cap rates for the area, which is a fancy way of saying yields, then there's no way we can just pull a number. We have had requests to produce a tool that allows some combination of market data and your inputs to be able to produce something like that in the future. And definitely commercial property data or commercial property tools is on the to-do list. But probably, I'm going to be upfront with you, probably not in the next 6 months, but it's on the to-do list. Shan said, sorry mate if I missed this, and this is a silly question, just a quick one. CoreLogic do a lot more than valuations, e.g. suburb profiles, medium price growth, etc. Will Monefly be providing similar info for investors as well? So absolutely, we intend to build out information around property around broader data automatically. Now we pull through some of the stuff around bedrooms, bathrooms, land size, and council areas on most properties. There's a whole lot of stuff we're going to do with suburb data matching, suburb profile, suburb performance as we develop the business, and we've got plans around medium pricing, growth, etc. as well. So we're definitely, building out the investor side of what we do in relevant and meaningful ways, absolutely on the roadmap. And yes, that's our intention. Chad's asked, this is a good one, Chad. Are there any plans to add cryptocurrency into Monefly? Had requests for that. The view that people want to plug in cryptocurrency into Monefly and see their obviously their wealth from a cryptocurrency converted back to exchange rate point of view. It is on the roadmap list. We haven't started that yet, given we've got other things ahead of it, but it's on the roadmap list, and certainly there's two schools of thought, right? One school of thought is people put stuff into cryptocurrency because they want to keep it off the radar. Another school of thought is they do want to know their net position if they're trading cryptocurrencies or buying or selling in Bitcoin or one or the other. I don't know, 2,000 cryptocurrencies now. So yes is the short answer. Okay, so I wanted to jump into just some tips and tricks right now. I've saved some tips and some screenshots to make this quick to take you through. Again, I'm recording this as well, so this will be available to you in the next sort of 48 hours to recap on. Most of the stuff's pretty straightforward, but you just may not know it's there, so I want to do that next. And again, this is a good stage to fire through anything else that you want to know around how do I do this, how do I do that, etc., etc. So, tips and tricks. So, in terms of mobile app issues, right? So right now, if you have any app issues at all, one thing that most users don't know is you can open the normal website in your mobile browser on your phone or on your desktop, and anything that works fine can be updated directly through the desktop website or the mobile website. So open Safari or open Chrome or open Firefox or what have you, go to monefly.com, log in as you normally would, and the website works perfectly fine in mobile. Looks great in mobile. So if you're having any technical issues with the app, add it via the desktop or the mobile site, and the data will be in the app as well. And that's a good short-term fix in the meantime. We talked about address issues. So you'll know if you had some address issues when we had the issue with Google Maps about 7 to 10 days ago, and the Google Map database. If your address looks like this, where you've got it in lowercase and the hyphens between the address, it's a faulty address. If you've only got the street displaying, so it says 22 Macumba Drive, but it's got no suburb, state, postcode structure, then the address is faulty. It then won't pull a valuation estimate. So if you delete it and re-add it, that should fix the problem for you, and that should clean it right up. The other thing is sometimes, and just so you know, I spent 2 days solidly about 7 days ago when we started seeing these issues. I tested about 260 properties to see what was going on. And in some cases, in a small percentage, I found cases where the suburb the user had entered match where Google thought the property was, because it was in the adjacent suburb just across the boundary. So always a little tip, if you're adding a property and for some reason it won't value up for some reason, you may find the address, but just go do a Google search on Google Maps and just see if that street actually sits within the right suburb boundaries. Obviously, if you know it already, no problem, but in some cases we've had streets that actually belong to different suburb areas, and then the valuation algorithm is not working properly because of that. Okay, a couple of people have double added debt. So Monefly allows you, when you're adding a property, to manually put in your mortgage value right now. It also allows you to click on the ability to link to a debt account that you've set up by connecting your debt or your bank accounts. So just taking a step back, if you go to add cash accounts and you go into, say, Westpac, and you pull in all your accounts or the ANZ, it will automatically sort cash from debt. It will sort them both. So if you add cash, it will add debt automatically and vice versa. When you go to add a property, if you click on link to debt account, any debt accounts that have been added now appear, and if you tick on one of those, it will attach it as a mortgage belonging to that house. You don't have to manually enter that value. It'll just link that for you. What that means going forward, as we publish LVR and equity information, it'll be in real time because it's got your actual mortgage balance on a daily basis and your actual property value on a monthly basis. So just a little tip there. If you're linked to debt directly without entering a manual mortgage, then you'll avoid doubling up. Okay, property attributes. So when you add a new property, sometimes you might see bathroom, bedrooms, cars, land, etc., floor area, property type as unavailable. Because we're pulling from council data, then that would usually be populated, but sometimes it's not. All you've got to do is click on the edit function, which is that little square with a little pencil in it, and you can open that property back up and add that missing data yourself, and then save it, and you've now got that information there as well, so that you've got it in your display. Okay. Property value issues. So I've investigated a number of valuation estimates where no results come back in some cases for members, and justifiably so, because the property is unique, and there's no recent comparable sales of substance. Then it's returned a 0 result. My philosophy is always good data or no data. So if you get a 0 result, other than me declaring up front, we have had some technical issues where you shouldn't have been getting a 0 result in the last couple of weeks, just to add to the complexity. But if you do get a 0 result, you can always untick automatic valuation. You go edit the property again, untick auto, enter a manual valuation. If you put your own estimate in based on your best guess or your most recent value or what have you, and for now that'll give you a value against the property, it'll give you equity on the property, and then obviously if it's a unique-ish kind of property, you may have to stay in manual going forward, or you may be able to change back to auto in the future. But that's a tip you can use that I would recommend. Some of our members in the early stage have said, who's Monefly? We don't trust you with our bank account data. We don't want to put it in. Is the platform useless if that's the case? And my answer is no. Start with what you're happy with. Add properties, add shares, add some assets. Monefly under the asset area allows you to manually add assets. If you want to, and you say, look, I've got 30 grand's worth of cash on hand, but I don't want to connect my bank accounts, just add it as an other category, other asset, because cash is still an asset, right? On the debt side, you can create a manual debt, and you can enter that value. So along with adding a mortgage manually against a property when you create it, you can also add debts manually against Monefly as well. And this is good if you borrowed the money of a family member, or it's a financial institution that for some reason doesn't integrate right now. You can add those debts manually as well. So just a little tip, because our goal is to make sure that you end up with everything in the platform so you can see the real picture. You don't want to go, well, it's great, but it's got 3/4 of my stuff, but the other stuff's not there, and so it's kind of not useful. As much as we can automate, we will, but we want you to obviously add those things in the meantime. Okay, another feature. Sometimes when you put your bank accounts in, they come in with these kind of nebulous names like Westpac Business One. If you click on the edit function, you can rename the account to a name that makes sense for you, like My Family Trust, or Mary's Spending Account, or what have you. So feel free to rename those accounts, and that'll save those changes. When you're searching for a new account to add for the first time, sometimes stuff doesn't come up. And this is a classic example, and just by chance I was handling the customer support case, and I knew what the cause was. ME Bank, who we all know today is ME Bank, and that's all their marketing is Me Bank, way back originally was actually created all those years ago as Members Equity Bank. They shortened it to ME Bank. When I went in to add ME, or the member did, ME didn't bring up anything. All it brought up was US related bank accounts. It didn't bring up Members Equity Australia. When I tried searching on Members Equity, it said, I know Members Equity Bank Australia is ME Bank. Now, don't ask me why, if you put an ME Bank doesn't appear when it's in brackets like that. We've logged that with Yodlee to explain why that is, but just sometimes consider other search combinations. If you get something funny with an abbreviated credit union or something else like that, where there's a longer form version of the name, they may help you find that account. Yodlee has more than 100 financial institutions, banks, credit unions in Australia, so they're a pretty big player, and so you should find it most of the time. And if you don't find something, let us know, because we'll log it directly with Yodlee. Okay. Tip number 8, your personal profile. So on the menu under personal profile, if you start to create your personal profile, I'm going to explain why we're encouraging you to do that, or why it even exists. What we're trying to do is move to the stage, and we're not there yet, where you can move to lodging digital financial applications and not need to do forms anymore. And the ability to lodge your profile and the information you have control of that you decide to share with your banker or broker or finance company or what have you is where we're trying to move. So as part of that, one of the clever things we did was we integrated LinkedIn. So you know how someone says, what's your employment history? And you think, oh, what a pain in the butt, I've got to fill out all these forms. You can click on the integration button and it automatically pulls in that data from LinkedIn. It'll ask you your password on the way in. And then all you've got to do is choose whether you are self-employed, contract, full-time, part-time, etc. So a clever little tool. But that profile, if you build that out, will help prepare you for that digitization in the future if that's something you want to take advantage of. The other thing which is a little bit of confusion around, about it because we haven't focused on it, is it's actually free to invite your advisors to Monefly. If you invite your mortgage broker or your accountant, they'll get an invite from Monefly saying, hey, Mary or John want you to join them on Monefly, and here's why. For you to work with them on Monefly, there's no cost to that advisor at all. If the advisor says, this is great, and I want to start inviting all of my other clients, then they've got a subscription cost on a flat fee basis per office, per advisor. So whether they add 50 or 500 clients, their costs don't change. But if you just want to invite an advisor to work with them on the platform, it doesn't cost them anything. We want it to be easy for you to connect to them and get them started. And so you get the value. And again, it's only if they want to start inviting all sorts of other people that our data costs really start to add up. And obviously their value starts to add up, and we try and align those things. Okay. So tip number 10. So again, one of the things we've been building is a loan application lodgement form, so that only when you add a finance broker, so not any other sort of type of advisor to the platform, when you add a finance broker to your team, whether you invite your own one or you choose one from the directory, and you hit that apply for the loan button, what then appears is how much you want to borrow, what's it for, and when's your settlement date. And then on the screen there, anything that's blue, you've also asked for sharing, and in this case, it's because I've already connected to Veronica directly through the workspace. Anything that's black, you haven't authorized to share, so she can't see that information. You submit that will send through an email with that summary detail for her to contact you and get that process underway. So, we're going down the path of integrating with every mortgage aggregator in Australia, so that again, instead of you filling in web forms or paper forms, you hit submit, it pushes the information that you have control of through into their mortgage application system, and now you've got this digital application underway, and you've just saved yourself a couple of hours filling in forms, and they've saved themselves the time of entering that data manually into their system as well. So, encourage you to start playing with the stuff, giving us feedback on the stuff, and enjoying the stuff. And again, if you just want to invite your advisors and get started, you can start using what's called the shared workspace. When you click on that workspace, it opens up an area where you can chat, message, create timelines, but also within that space is where you control the information that they see. Unless you click on it, they can't see it. Unless it's highlighted blue, they can't see it. And when they can see it, if they click on property, they can see the property you own, etc., what you paid for on your current debt, and start to look at how they can help you go forward. So you control that as well. So you're always in control. If you don't activate it, it doesn't get shared. The other thing we've built is this little button here says Share Dropbox. If you click on that, that allows you to automatically add files from Dropbox to Monefly and then share them with a broker or accountant or financial planner or what have you. And again, this is all part of, my experience was when I refinanced about 12 months ago. I had to send about 7 different emails with about 45, 50 different attachments because I'm self-employed and various entities and bank statements and bits and pieces, times 6 months, times 6 entities, etc. And then the emails bounce back because the file size was too big and all that kind of stuff. And then of the 5 or 7 emails, the broker didn't get one, and I didn't know which one, etc. So you can use that as a tool for sharing documents again, and you control who you share them with. Okay, final tip. Transactions, a new feature we've added just in the last week or so. You can now rename the categories within transactions. So you'll be familiar that when you go into transactions, it's pulled in and consolidated automatically your income and expenses across any of the accounts, credit cards, loan accounts you've connected. Historically, those categories were hard-coded. You can now edit and change those category descriptions. So I can change cable, satellite, telecom to Netflix, Foxtel Telecom if I want to instead. I can add new categories as well. So take advantage of that. We've got new features coming soon where then when you start coding your transactions and saying, hey, whenever I go to Bunnings, it means, you know, repairs, or whenever I go to Bunnings, it means it related to one of my rental properties, so that will auto-code and categorize for you going forward. The goal with Monefly is to do all this automation work for you based on learning what you do, but also it's leveraging off what 70 million other consumers already do through Yodlee. Yodlee provide that auto-categorization to start with, and then your customization then helps to make it smarter and smarter and smarter. Okay, so those are the sort of top 12 tips and tricks that I had for you, and now I want to jump into the product roadmap and let you know what's coming down the pipeline and give you a quick preview there, so we can try and, you know, wrap up maybe in the next 10 minutes, and obviously I'll look to keep answering any questions as they come in, or at the end as well, a bit of a Q&A session until you're done with asking questions. So, you know, with any platform like this, it's easy for us to say, gee, we're 2 years into this, and, you know, we've got all this stuff right in front of us. When are we getting to the rest of the stuff on the list? And in some cases, you know, I've used software for 5 years, it's never changed. And so it's important for us to share with you on an ongoing basis the stuff that we're doing. And, you know, just I guess, again, to share how we look at the world, this is Monefly in the left-hand column. That's the number of users. We've got just over 2,000 right now. And when we look across Australia, we look across the US and Canada, and we look at those models. Most of those models are around providing bank data feeds, around helping you with budgeting and goal setting, around marketing finance and credit cards to you to get yourself further into debt, and mostly they're either free or in some cases paid if you want that live bank data fed. In Australia, if you want access to property data, nobody provides ongoing access to property data, or in some cases car valuation or share market or SMSF or superannuation data, unless it's a paid subscription. And some of those things are $10, $15, $29 a month. But again, it's still, you know, anywhere from $120 to $300 a year per consumer. Our goal is to provide all of that stuff free, ongoing. Our goal is to build out all of the stuff we do for advisors so that we deliver value, so they pay to use the platform as subscriptions, so they get found by consumers in our professional directory, and our members rate our advisors and say who's great and who's not so great, so they get to make good choices. That's our goal, and we've got big aspirations. And, you know, we've grown to 2,000 members really in about 10 or 12 weeks, really, because we really only got started in November. My Prosperity's grown after 5 years to 10,000 members. We expect to be there by May, June. And it's not just a race about size. It's about saying, how can we create a great product that grows quickly? Because unless we grow it quickly, then advisors won't get value as well. But, you know, hence why we've got aspirations beyond Australia to help justify the cost of investment in something like this. So what's coming up in the next most of these things are in the next 90 days, and I really want to try to keep it to 90 days, because as soon as someone says, oh, you know, in the next 6 to 12 months we're going to do such and such, then you start sort of thinking, well, that's probably never going to happen. Most of these are in the next 90 days. The document encryption and the e-signing probably isn't, but basically everything else is. So peer compare, I'm going to jump to peer compare and talk about that, because there's what's called a wireframe on your screen. What the peer comparison module is a module we've been building since October last year that allows you to choose from any one of 50 different financial KPIs, and allows you to say, I want to see how I compare to my peers. And it'll start off being at a national or state level, but as our user base gets better, it'll drill down to regional level, and then right down to suburb level. And so we're going to enable you to say, okay, income-wise, based on, if you look at this example, based on who you are and where you sit, your income is 40% above your peers. You rank at number X in your state or location or suburb, what have you. Here's how you're tracking. Here's how your peers are tracking. Because what's important for us is for us to be able to say, we've got this amazing data, but we need to then hand it back to you for you to be able to use the wisdom of the crowd in real time to see what's important to you, how that affects you, and what you want to focus on. There's no point us bombarding you with all these analytics and cool tools and everything else. It's all about saying, what are the 2 or 3 or 5 things that are most important to you? You do your comparison, you set it up, you track it, and then you can add, delete, edit to your heart's content, whether you monitor 3 KPIs or 33 KPIs, that's up to you. But that's the focus with the peer comparison module. Okay, so that's under development right now, and there'll be about 50 different categories here that you can then start to leverage off. So kind of curious, some of the metrics are quite cool. It's okay. So based on assuming you're out of the workforce by into the workforce by age 21, what's your net worth based on your age today compared to somebody who's a little bit younger, a little bit older than you, and how are you tracking on a net worth by year point of view? So some stuff that kind of helps you to see, am I tracking well, or am I behind the 8 ball? Okay, so jumping back a step, security. We're adding 2-factor authentication. A lot of our members have asked it or suggested we do this, so that we'll be asking for your mobile number in future. You would have got used to that now with a lot of the banking and finance related sites, so that you know that we know we're verifying who you are when you're logging in, or if you're changing financial information or updating passwords, so that you've got a greater level of control, and you know that it's not a matter of somebody just having a unique username and password. So look out for that, and that's that we're starting to roll out changes there. I would expect in the next 7 to 14 days on that area. Jumping down to credit score. Credit score we've had some delays with, but we've now got development underway with that. And so the cool thing about that is you're going to see your credit score updated monthly. You're going to have that grading out of 1,000, and we're going to tell you whether you're below average, above average, or average. And also all of your credit transaction inquiry data will be displayed for you to be able to review yourself, and you'll be able to see any inquiries that you've had into your credit file. And again, part of how we go forward is building notifications for you that you get to customize and control. And again, that'll allow you to be notified if there's inquiries going on against your profile that you don't know about. So again, if you subscribe to Vita right now, I think it's $49 a year for credit score data. There's other sites where you can sign up for free, but they'll bombard you with credit card offers and finance offers. We're folding that into Monefly as part of your experience, and we're excited to release that pretty soon. Again, that's realistically, I reckon that's somewhere between 30 and 60 days. Goals is the financial goals is undergoing a full redesign. It's going to be much more flexible, much more intuitive, and again, ultimately designed around helping you stay on track. A lot of us write up goals, we get so excited, we park them, we pull them out after 3 or 6 months, and we go, gee, we're not on track. We needed to help you stay on track without you thinking about it. So that's our goal. Encrypted document sharing and e-signing. So that'll replace Dropbox. We've got that technology that we're licensing. It's a global platform, called global partner, and it's a big part of the move towards enabling you to share documents with any of your advisors or experts or so on and so forth. But it includes all of the signature stuff as well, so that when you've got documents you need to sign, you don't have to print them out. You can sign them off digitally and drop them straight back to your advisor, which means it saves you paper, saves you time. And as this starts to become liberated, that'll be more widely available with obviously with annual tax returns it is now, with a lot of mortgage application documents it is now, with bank mortgage documents it's not yet, but it's on its way, with various financial planning documents it's already that way. And again, that's part of our commitment to taking you digital. And if you already are, it's part of our commitment to helping you take your advisors digital if they're not already, to stop them sending you PDFs and forms to fill out. So that's a big chunky one there. Okay, property. Lots of property investment data and tools to come. Some stuff that's on the horizon in the next 30 days. Data around equity, LVRs, yields, average annual growth at a property level, some consolidated data across your portfolio. That's all. I think that's kind of like 30 to 45 days tops for some extra data. That'd be quite useful. Alerts and automation. That's another big module we've got to develop, and that's essentially so that we don't turn into a business that bombards you with notifications and emails. Other than inviting you to the webinar, you'll notice that we generally send you a lack of emails, unless it's kind of experience driven with inside the website, based on what you're doing specifically. But our goal is to build automation alerts that you can customize based on what you want to be informed on and when you want to. Statement of position on the right hand side, that's a wireframe, which is kind of like an architectural drawing, if you like, of how that's going to roughly look without design added to it. But essentially the goal is for you to be able to say, okay, based on, if you think about your balance sheet, my asset column, my liability column, some various ratios around net worth, debt servicing, debt to income, etc. Your income, your expense, and some other metrics around how that compares. We want you to be able to see that in real time in this kind of summary. And it also means that when you're sitting down with a mortgage broker or an accountant or financial planner, if they can see the same kind of information because you share it with them, it's going to make sense from their point of view as well. So that's really about reporting based on data that's mostly available. So look out for that in the next 30 to 60 days as well. That'll help make sense, and again forms the basis of data that we can then graph and chart for you as well. A whole lot of tough stuff around budgeting and future scenario tools. Again, automation is the key word. Nobody likes building budgets, so nobody likes maintaining budgets. If we can quite simply say, here's how you're tracking if you do nothing, here's some levers that you can pull because because these are the areas you're the furthest outside of your peer group, that if you change would have a positive impact. If we can help you do that stuff, if we can help you see how you're tracking over the next 5, 10, 20 years based on some of that scenario stuff, and it's cool and easy, then that's our goal. So we've got work to do there. And then on the data side, more data around property, integration of vehicle valuations in real time, and integration of data from super funds, SMSFs, etc., and various other stuff that we're doing. Okay, so that's the financial the product road map. Let me just go to there's about 150 things on our list, but these are the kind of the big chunky ones we're working on right now. So Anthony's just said, I'm currently looking to raise finance for finance for a company purchase and the freehold to follow within 6 months. I have two brokers looking at deals outside of Monefly. Well, that's cool. Well, again, feel free to give them a taste test with Monefly and use it as a bit of a test if you want them to check out the platform or look at your information through the platform. Stephen says, our firm uses Box to create client portals and store documents for them. Are you looking at enabling advisors to link a portal like Box to clients' Monefly accounts? Also, will Monefly have APIs for in and out data to update CRMs and the client's Monefly account? Yes, so two good questions, Stephen. So yes is a short answer. The stuff that we're doing with encrypted documents and document signing is to enable clients and their advisors to share documents directly between them on a one-to-one basis in both directions. So that's absolutely the case, and for that purpose, and it's on an advisor by advisor basis. We are also building an API. That's probably 60 to 90 days away, I think. But again, yes, lots of our partners are working with their clients and CRMs right now, and they say, yep, that's great that the information's in Monefly. It's great that the client said they want to share with me, but can you just put it where you already live, not on a different platform, so that we can integrate that into our client experience and integrate that into our business workflows. So absolutely, that's on the horizon, and we're doing some manual workaround stuff right now with data integration, where obviously where the client's given you and us permission for you to have access and see the information so that you can assist them. So by all means, drop me an email and I can give you some more information on that as well. Anthony says, my question was the last part. Oh, sorry, I might not have scrolled far enough. Sorry. Using Monefly correctly, could I have more brokers scanning the market? How do I do it? Contract imminent. I'm not quite sure of the question, but if you engage more than one broker, generally they're on either a fee-for-service basis or contractually. If you engage them and they get you finance and then you don't go ahead, they might charge you a cancellation fee or a fee for using their time. So ultimately, with what we're going to have over time, there will be, there's about 50 brokers in the platform now that have signed up to Monefly's advisors and started to create their profile. And ultimately, over time, through member ratings, connections to members, and skills that our clients define, there'll be good data for selection within the Monefly platform. It's definitely early stage, so I'm not going to say, hey, we've got great people in there. I just don't necessarily know who they are, because we're going to judge them on how many Monefly users they engage with and what our Monefly customers say about them, rather than what they say about themselves. So that's early stages, but yeah, you can start to access those people as we go forward from here. On the commercial property finance side, I'm not sure of the skill sets in there right now, because it's not something I've dived into. So again, feel free to drop me an email, Anthony. I'll give you my details shortly. It's david@monefly.com. Feel free to drop me an email, and I'll send you a little bit more details. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to quickly touch on before we wrap up is the Monefly global platform. Why are we doing it? We believe our vision of our model's unique globally. Investment, we had a shareholder investment come out of New Zealand into Monefly in the second half of last year, and they did that on the basis that I'm going to invest in Monefly as an investor as long as you build it for New Zealand. And so we said, well, let's not build it for New Zealand, let's build it with global thinking in mind, so it becomes easier to add on additional countries on the basis we've got to source credit data by country, property data by country. But if we go global with share markets straight away, global with bank accounts and financial institutions, then we're kind of halfway there. So that's been our goal. And we already have, like we had a member last week that said, I've got US shares, I've got New Zealand property, how do I add those things to Monefly? And she couldn't, but surely she'll be able to. So it's in beta testing right now. New Zealand property and credit scores are going live, and global shares are going live in March, April. I'm going to jump into the test site. I'm not going to do a heap of stuff in here. Hopefully it doesn't log me out because I've been sitting on here for a while. I just wanted to show you, right now our team are testing this. It was just released to testing last week, but last week I was able to, Google's now known as Alphabet. I was able to go into Monefly. I was able to add Google, add what I paid for in US dollars, and this is test data, by the way, I don't own 1,000 shares, and add how many shares I hypothetically owned. And then when I save that to Monefly, it's converted that purchase price from $50 Australian to $63, from $50 US to $63 Australian, and I can now see my US NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange holdings and Australian dollars, along with my Australian shares as well in these examples. So one of the cool things in the background, which I think is kind of quirky, is when I go into my profile in Monefly Global, I can change my currency. And so if I change my currency to Great British Pounds and save that, regardless of whether I bought those assets in US, UK, New Zealand, Australia, Japan, or wherever, you can see now it's changed all of my holdings to Great British Pounds. So regardless of what currency they're held in. When I go into property with Monefly Global, you can see there I've got a New Zealand property that I've valued in there. It's showing up in pounds, but you can see there when I jump into that property, it started off by saying, whoops, let me just move the screen up. It started off by saying, okay, what did I pay for New Zealand dollars? Originally, what's the mortgage? How long have I owned it, etc. It's all in New Zealand dollars, but it's displaying in pounds because that's what I've done. So just a little, I know that's like a 2-minute taste test, but I'm conscious of time. But I just want you to see that we're well advanced and we're pretty excited with how it's starting to look. And we have got significant opportunities ahead. Australia's a massive focus for us. New Zealand's a massive focus for us. Those are the only 2 markets we're going to have a full set of data. But you can see that with the way that we approach this, we're already halfway to other markets. Hence why we're raising capital to help us fund the growth, because we don't want to lose the momentum now. We don't want to be one of those countries that talks about going to do all these things, then 2 years later they're not done. So product for our members is key. So I guess just in wrapping up in terms of what you can expect from us, when you're using the Monefly site, if you haven't realized already, there's a little icon in the bottom right hand corner. If you click on that pops up a little help box that comes straight through to us. We also have mobile apps out our team carry that prompt us even in the evenings or weekends, and some of you have been surprised to see us respond in the evening or weekend. It's because we're alerted to any live support cases, and we're conscious that that's when you're online quite often, so we try to turn those around quickly. On the menu, if you click on support, there's a great help center we've built with lots of content, lots of short videos on how to do stuff, so take advantage of that as well. These are our support team. You've probably seen these names. I'm David. JD or Justin's based in Melbourne. He's our product guru and leading our development team. Logan and Gabrielle flat out supporting you, so those are some faces to the names. They're real people, and we're all on customer support right now because we've obviously got things coming in that affect and fascinate all of us. We really encourage you to follow our Monefly page, and we've also set up Monefly groups for our personal members and our advisors, so that you can actually connect to other Monefly members, share your concerns, share your feedback, share your experiences, share your screenshots, share your deals, share your examples, share anything you want, right? It's an open forum, it's membership only. So if you search for that in Facebook, you'll apply to be added, we'll approve you've been added, check that you're a member, and then you're free to post, publish, share, comment, however you like. We want you to share and connect. We want you to be part of our community, and we really want your feedback openly. And of course, if you don't like what we're doing, if you don't like what we're doing, we're going to see that in real time as well. So lastly, we're accessible. Those are my details. If you're not happy at any point, just email me directly. Toby's asked about how do I get more information on investment in Monefly. I really like your model. I like where you're going. Toby, tonight it's not really about talking to you about that, but by all means, drop me an email, david@monefly.com. We've got information we can send out on the business, but that's not really a tonight kind of topic. But that's my mobile number. That's my email. So scribble that down. If you're not getting satisfaction at any point, feel free to connect to me directly. Using Intercom, the little icon on our website gets to all of us in real time. So I recommend that, because you're going to attach screenshots and examples of links and problems as well. Okay, Sarah said, hello, David. One question. Please, why can't I add my HSBC account since it couldn't verify the credentials? Can this be fixed? Sarah, the Yodlee integration issues we've had, the team have been working on pretty much solidly for the last 10 to 12 days. We will send you out an update by email when any final fixes or changes are done. Look out for that information in the coming days. It's pretty close to being complete. I know a number of issues have been solved now, but we'll keep you informed. There's no reason why you can't, other than technically we've had some issues with the version of Yodlee that we're using, which is actually the most up-to-date version, but they've had some issues with speed. But we will keep you up to date and informed. That will be resolved, and I expect that it's just days away. So yeah, we'll keep you informed. So Sarah says, thank you very much. All the best. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the thumbs up and the prayers. So folks, that's the update I wanted to give you. I ran a little bit over time, but I want to share all that stuff with you. We're an open book. We're really excited about what we're trying to achieve. We're 2 years into this. We've got a long way to go. We're trying to do this as quickly as we can. Please keep sending us your feedback. Please keep updating us, good, bad, or otherwise. We will persist until what we're doing works perfectly 99.9% of the time. And we really want to make sure that we take you along for the journey. But, join the Facebook group. There's nothing better than you connecting in there, and then you can see what other people are commenting on or asking about or sharing. And we really want to continue to put our roadmap, and be they bugs or features or new items in front of you. And as our group of members grows, getting your feedback on what's most important to you, and ultimately having you vote on those things, so that we're always working on the highest and most present priorities. Right now, that's simple because they're things that are broken that shouldn't be broken. But obviously, as we go forward with the new stuff we're rolling out, we want to make sure that we're serving you best as we go along. So we have recorded this. We'll have it uploaded and available through the website. We'll let you know it's available in the next couple of days. If you want to recap, or you came in partway through it, or you want to show somebody else, feel free to. Thanks for being a member. Thanks so much. Please stick with us as we build out and get better at what we do. We're really excited about what we're doing, and we're really excited about having you on our team and helping us go in some pretty exciting places. So folks, thank you. All the best with your use of Monefly and with your own personal wealth and financial planning and management, and we hope to see you again on a webinar, and look out for maybe some Monefly events in the future as well, where we get to meet you face to face. So folks, thank you. That's all the questions we've had. Craig Colson, give me a smiley face. Thanks, Craig. And good night. We'll wrap it up there.